Up to this point, we've learned how to administer a MySQL database through PHP MyAdmin. We know how to create a database and insert, update, and delete records through the graphical user interface. We also know how to execute some basic SQL statements through the PHP MyAdmin SQL editor. In this lesson, we'll learn how to embed SQL statements in PHP scripts. Remember, the idea is to create dynamic database-driven PHP sites. This means we need to be able to do things like retrieve, insert, update, and delete records directly from our PHP scripts, depending on our website's interactions with its users. We'll start by creating a script that connects to the My Website database we created in PHP MyAdmin. The script will also retrieve and output the data in the database using an SQL select statement. There are two methods we can use that facilitate the connection and communication with our MySQL database. This includes PDO and MySQLi. For the purpose of these lessons, we'll be using MySQLi because it was specifically designed for the MySQL database. It's easier to learn and also offers greater speed and compatibility with a MySQL database. PDO, on the other hand, is more advantageous if you think you may switch your web application to another database in the future. It's compatible with over 18 databases. It's also more challenging to learn and something you should evolve into once you become more proficient with coding and database development. To connect to our database using MySQLi, enter the following block of code inside your text editor. Remember to save this file in the PHP lessons folder that we've been using up to this point. You can assign it any file name. We've named ours connect.php. Now let's go through each line of code for a better understanding. The first thing we need to do is set up three variables. The server name variable stores the name of our host. Since we're hosting the database on our own computer using the WAMP or MAMP server, we set our host to localhost. Next, we set up variables called username and password. The values for these variables depends on which user you'll be using to connect to the database. Earlier in this section of the course, we explored creating users and user privileges using PHP MyAdmin. We'll be connecting to our database as the root user, so you'll need to enter root as the username. Set the password to the one you specified in PHP MyAdmin earlier. Next, we enter the MySQLi syntax for establishing a new connection to the database. The connection string is followed by an if statement that checks to see if the connection was successful. If the connection was unsuccessful, an error message will automatically be displayed. Lastly, we've placed an echo statement that will display a message, connected successfully, if there's no connection issues. To make sure your connection was established, open your web browser and load the web page using your localhost URL. So we're on the localhost. Our connect.php file is stored in the PHP lessons folder. So if you've saved your file in the same folder and on the localhost, plug in the same URL. Once you do that, the page should load and the message connected successfully should be displayed. If you have any connection issues, make sure that your WAMP server is up and running. Remember, the icon should be green. Also make sure that you haven't put any typos in the host username or password. And if all that checks out, you shouldn't have an issue.